receive from your accounting firm shouldn't. Partner-owned since 1923, Anshin Accountants and Advisors take time to get to know you and your unique circumstances to help resolve complex issues and develop innovative tax and accounting solutions. If you're a high net worth individual or business owner eager for a strategy to maximize tax savings, let Anshin deliver value where others can't. Visit anchin.com.
Anajar and Levine.
Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733.
ESPN 1063.
WUUB Jupiter, a Good Karma Brands radio
it's
station.
Josh Cohen for the accident attorneys, Anajar and Levine. Car accidents, truck accidents, slip and fall, trip and fall. Did you get injured on the job? Workers' comp problems? My friends Mark Anajar and Glenn Levine, they will fight for you. Remember, they do not get paid unless you get paid. And they will fight to get you the maximum compensation you know you deserve. Here's what you do. You just call. Call Anajar and Levine for your absolutely free consultation. Do not settle for just any attorneys. Demand Anajar and Levine and demand the Anajar and Levine difference. It takes just one phone call to begin to take back control of your life. So do that. Take back control of your life. Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-FREE. 1-800-747-3733. Anajar and Levine, accident attorneys, take back control of your life.
Time now for a PNC pause. PNC Bank is committed to making a difference in the lives of the customers they serve in the South Florida community. See how at pnc.com. You're listening to ESPN 1063.
I'm Wendy Sartori-Link, your Palm Beach County Supervisor of Elections. Tuesday, November 5th is Election Day, and the polls are open 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Find where you vote at votepalmbeach.gov. Remember to bring your photo and signature ID. If you still have a mail ballot, you can either vote in person at your polling location, drop it off at one of our drop-off locations during designated hours, or bring it to our main office by 7 p.m. on Election Day. It's an honor to serve and ensure your vote counts. See you at the polls. Sponsored by the Palm Beach County Supervisor of Elections Office.
Point.
Hey, you okay? You don't normally miss those shots.
I just haven't been as regular lately, and it's making me feel sluggish.
You should try Metamucil. It's been a game changer for me. Metamucil's plant-based psyllium fiber helps trap and remove the waste that weighs you down.
Ace.
You're moving better than you were last week.
Definitely.
Metamucil keeps you moving. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Learn more at metamucil.com.
Hear that? The sound of water being poured on 800-degree rocks. If you were here in this sauna, you'd be so hot you wouldn't have the energy to move. But you're not here. Because your self-care happens out on the road, riding your motorcycle protected by Progressive. Besides, after a long ride, a helmet sweat is way more satisfying. So if you ride, switch to Progressive, America's #1 motorcycle insurer, without even breaking a sweat. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states.
It's a Twin Peaks Tuesday. Twin Peaks, the ultimate sports lodge for eats, drinks, and scenic views. This is ESPN 1063. Now, it's time for a little R&R.
All into the bucket, lays it up and in.
Ball game, Rizzo! Live in the Anajar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios, this is Russo and Rizzo on ESPN 1063.
This team is going to be tough when they finally get it together.
Sit back and relax. Let Russo and Rizzo take you home.
Oh, mercy! Light him up, Colin!
An Election Day edition of Russo and Rizzo on ESPN 1063. They're right here in downtown West Palm Beach. It's Russo and Rizzo on ESPN 1063. Colin Russo, Mike Rizzo, Christian Cat behind the glass as always. Election Day, I was under the impression that West Palm Beach was going to be, ground zero for election grounds because I guess one of the candidates, Donald Trump, is going to be in West Palm Beach. And the way people were talking about it in the office, you'd think that this was, Chernobyl. Stay out. This is going to be, the traffic is going to be the worst you've ever seen. Don't even bother coming downtown. Trump has shut the city down. I drove in to no problems whatsoever. Zero.
None.
Nada.
I'm with you, too. A very doomsday-esque thing we did yesterday in this office. Nothing was different. I took Okeechobee in. I took a left on Rosemary. And I went in the parking garage and I went into work. What was different about today?
They got the convention center on lockdown. I understand they got the barricades and the cops. But the way people were talking about it, Armageddon, Doomsday,
Colin,
don't even think about it, Trump traffic.
It's important to note that if you're driving around right now and want to make a decision based on these two chuckleheads, you guys drove into work, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, so things may have changed between then and now.
Colin,
but yeah, it wasn't that bad.
No, it wasn't that bad.
Thanks,
Don't play a devil's advocate.
No, seriously, if someone was going to say, oh, it's not that bad, I'm going to go out to eat on Rosemary. Maybe it's different now.
This is not, we're no traffic station, so don't take our word for
Colin,
it. That was just my experience.
People didn't come in today.
No, nobody's in the office.
Yeah, that was crazy.
People didn't come in today.
Nobody's in the office.
There's nothing different.
I can't come in. Trump's they got the election going on.
Like, what are you
They don't have the
talking
election
about?
going down on the highway.
I was just so confused.
Drive in. Oh, my. Take an earlier exit. Go a different route. Oh, my God.
I came in later because, as Colin alluded to, no one's going to be here or whatever. I drove in at 12:30. Took me 7 minutes to get from my apartment to the station. 7 minutes.
There was less traffic than normal. I'll be honest. On my drive in.
You're right. It's one of those things where everybody is under the impression that this is going to be Armageddon, and they all stay away.
I left at 1:30 because everyone's like, Riz, make sure you give yourself some time tomorrow, or 12:30. Sorry, this whole time change. I left at 12:30 because I wanted to be in here by 1, and then everyone would make Riz, give yourself some time. I think I got into work at 12:37.
It was a similar feeling and perspective. The way people were talking about it, it was like a hurricane was coming to town. And they're like, stay safe, stay home. We'll see you at the aftermath. You got water? Do you have non-perishables? That was the interpretation that people were giving in the office.
Lord.
What the hell are you people talking about? I just went for a stroll down Rosemary here, went to go check out the convention center just to see some of the characters that we'll see. And it looked fine. I mean, they got cops there. Yeah. It's not an overabundance of traffic. It looked normal.
Maybe we will play this back tomorrow and think, wow, those guys were really wrong about maybe some bad things that might happen.
It's going to take us 2 hours and 45 minutes to get out of here because of riots or whatever the hell. You're not even going to learn anything about the election today. We don't want to get into that. But, based on what I've heard, this was going to be, with Trump in the area, this was going to be ground zero Armageddon. But the traffic was okay coming in. So color me, please.
We made it.
We made it.
That was the good news.
Another part of the sports world that actually made it through is now the NFL trade deadline has, as of 7 minutes ago, came and went. So every team that tried to make a move or was in the market to make a move, everything is locked down. No more moves in the NFL. But a couple highlights, of course, the main one being Marshawn Lattimore, the cornerback out of the New Orleans Saints, being traded to the Washington Commanders. Commanders loading up. It looks like that they have acknowledged that the window is here and this is time to win now. Jaden, it's always the underlying theme of if they have that rookie quarterback, we're buyers and we're going to make this work. And that's exactly what the Commanders are doing. We're going to take advantage of a rookie quarterback on a rookie deal. We can afford it. Let's go stockpile and figure this out. I thought that was a great move.
I agree.
By the Commanders.
I agree. Great move. And to be honest, I don't think the Commanders even expected to be in this situation.
Yeah, probably not.
In my opinion, I don't think in their wildest dreams did they think they would be 7-2 and leading this division. So in a year where all of a sudden you're in it, you've gotten good quarterback play. The defense has played well enough under new head coach Dan Quinn.
And the one thing they probably needed was secondary help.
So I love it. And I still think the Eagles win the division. Now, I picked the Cowboys to win this division before the year. I do have to throw myself under the bus a little bit, but I still think Philly probably wins. We'll see if the Commanders can keep it up, though, man. They've been a fun team. Colin, I could argue the Commanders have been one of the more fun teams in the NFL this
Absolutely.
year.
And, they have Adam Peters, the new general manager. And, of course, they got Dan Snyder out of there. They got Josh Harris, I believe, who's a Sixer owner in there. They've completely revamped that franchise.
They have.
And Peters is a John Lynch disciple from the San Francisco 49ers, and they're always buyers. That team is always buyers. And so that's the cloth he's cut from.
They had Magic Johnson announce the signing. Did you see that on social media?
I did not see that Magic
Johnson.
Yeah,
I saw it. It said Commanders limited partner Magic Johnson gives the verdict on the Marshawn Lattimore deal. So
I can't get into that. That's a little much.
Magic. You think it's a little? Is it a little phony?
Magic Johnson has a funny Twitter if you look at it, because he just says like, LeBron James starting at small forward for the Lakers. Magic, we know. All right, you don't need to. You don't need to be this ESPN guy for us. I have an idea. Thank you. But other moves that are also highlighted. Of course, everybody thought the Lions were going to do it. They ended up making that move for Zadarius Smith, who is now being shipped in and is going to be an immediate edge help for the Lions. They traded basically nothing for him. They didn't go big. They didn't swing big, but they still got much-needed help. Zadarius Smith is a proven commodity. Also a good move. The rich get richer in that situation.
And I think Smith is a great locker room guy as well. Being as close as I was to that Browns situation, Colin, with being a fan and having family members cover the team, they loved that guy there. And I think he's going to fit right into that culture with the Lions, with Dan Quinn. And they got
Dan Campbell.
Sorry, Dan Campbell. And they got young players too. I think a veteran like him immediately steps into that locker room and gives them a boost. And I think he gives them a boost on the field because they're depleted at that current position right now. And you throw him along in on that defense with that great secondary as well. Look out, man. Both you and Zaz said the Lions were the best team in the NFL yesterday. Rich get richer. Rich get richer with
now,
this.
A team that made a bunch of moves, and they should have made moves because they were buyers, but I was curious at the players they went after were the Pittsburgh Steelers. They went after Mike Williams, and they went after Preston Smith from the Green Bay Packers, the edge rusher. So they got Mike Williams off the Jets' hands at wide receiver. I thought they probably could have went a different route in terms of getting, a ready-to-play receiver. I mean, Mike Williams is never available. And he's never consistent, even if he is available. So I don't love the fact that they got him. I don't think he's an immediate needle mover offensively for them. And Preston Smith, you're going to rotate him into that defensive line, and he's going to be just fine because he is not going to have any sort of attention on him. That is a perfect add. Bolster some weight, add some muscle to the foundation of that defensive line. He's going to be just fine. I think that's a good move. But that Mike Williams trade makes me a little confused because I guess little. High ceiling, he's a deep ball guy, and Russell Wilson's going to lay it up there and he's going to go get it, but he's never available. So I thought they probably would have been better off with a different route at that receiver position, but ultimately they needed to make a move, and they did.
And they needed a receiver, if I'm being honest. George Pickens, 548 yards on the year, 1 touchdown. Their touchdown leaders are Pat Freiermuth and Calvin Austin III, both with 2. So I don't mind.
Pickens is a good player, too. And he's had, I think, 3 touchdowns called back this year alone off technicalities.
Right. And I understand Justin Fields, Colin, wasn't lighting up the stat sheet throwing the ball. I know that's not the case. But I thought they needed to make a move. I'm interested they went the Williams route. To your point, he's never really healthy. But they look at the division. They're coming off their bye week this week. They're 6-2. They're still in control of that division. They just got to keep winning. I kind of like their moves. I can't lie. I like their moves, and it's so Steeler-esque to kind of get better, but at the same time, not give up the ranch. And that's something I didn't get to say about the Lions that I wanted to say, partner, was we talked yesterday. Are they going to get Myles Garrett? Are they going to get one of these top pass rushers? Crosby, Parsons. I like what they did here. I like what both of these teams did here in the Lions and the Steelers, getting better and not having to give up the ranch.
Yeah. I would have been fine either way with that Lions pick because this is their moment. This is their window. If you want to bolster, Kansas City's not holding back in acquiring talent, and they're 8-0. So we'll get into Thursday Night Football in a couple minutes here. But if you want, that's the team. That's the circled team in those standings. Is you got to compete with Kansas City. You got to do whatever you can to possibly beat them.
Yep.
But they made a good move there. Who made the best move? Who had the best trade deadline? 888-760-3776, or better yet, who should have made a move and didn't? So that's another curious question. I want to hear from you, the fan. Let us know. 888-760-3776, the number to get into the program on Russo and Rizzo on ESPN 106.3. Colin Russo, Mike Rizzo, Christian Cat, of course, behind the glass. Now looking ahead, let's flip this a little bit. Tre'Davious White was another one we didn't touch on. The Rams ship him out there. He's going to the Ravens. He desperately needed another place to be. They have so many young guys in that secondary on the Rams. They didn't necessarily need him. And the Ravens needed a boost in that secondary. They've been getting torched every week in and week out. So I think for both sides, that was probably a good move. But who is somebody that didn't make a move, or who is a team that you think should have made a move in hindsight now that the trade deadline is now come and gone?
Well, you look at some of the quarterbacks, right? You look at Bryce Young. You thought maybe Bryce Young would be on the move.
To where?
I think
they just turned over a new leaf with him. You're going to ship him out?
I think at the end of the year, they're going to be drafting a quarterback.
I don't know about that.
I think they're going to be drafting a quarterback at the end of the year. And similarly enough, Colin, I thought it was peculiar that the Colts said, Richardson is off limits. And listen, if the plan is to develop Richardson, I applaud them. But if they go into next year with another quarterback at the helm and Richardson is backing him up, how big of a project is this? Like,
I don't think they're in the market for a quarterback either. Maybe a viable backup. But I don't think they're going to be in the market for a new starter, and I don't think the Panthers are either.
A non-quarterback, Colin, would probably be Max Crosby for me.
You thought who was going to make a move?
I thought maybe the Lions. He's a Michigan kid. I thought if the Lions were to give up the ranch, it would be for Max Crosby. I think he's cheaper than Myles Garrett. I think he'd be cheaper than Micah Parsons by what.
And he's wildly underrated. He's excellent against the run. He does everything.
And also the Raiders, they've been through a lot of coordinators and assistant coaches this year. It seems like, they brought in North Turner. It seems like that they're kind of in some turmoil. I thought maybe Crosby would be a big name on the move. So I would probably go with Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson, and Max Crosby.
Well, you got to ask questions about how involved Brady is on these moves. Of course, they bring in North Turner, who's, of course, involved offensively with those great Cowboy teams of the 90s. I know his son is now the offensive coordinator, Scott Turner. I think Pierce is probably a ticking time bomb at head coach there, especially with Brady involved. I imagine they're going to go elsewhere. They're going to have a new quarterback next year. I feel like that team screams Shedeur Sanders.
We could add Pierce to that list we made a few weeks back of head coaches.
Yeah, him and Eberflus probably. And in terms of getting guys out, it depends on who the replacements will be, but I assume that people, in terms of on thin ice, I figured those two guys are guys that have inserted themselves.
I'll say this, a lot of games left for the Bears. They have a ton of division matchups that they can possibly win. But that statistic you pointed out to me, on Sundays, on away games, Matt Eberflus is 0-18. That's Colin.
Can't do that.
Insanity.
Can't do that.
Insanity that you've never won a Sunday road game and you've been the head coach for almost 4 years now.
Can't do that. So I get him out. Get him out and throw a bag at Ben Johnson and see if he'll take it. I don't know if he will. Interdivision, I'm not sure if he'll want to stick around in the division or if he wants a small market team. But do whatever you can to get that guy in there.
Do you have anyone in mind, Colin, should have been traded? I was surprised the Browns didn't do more. Maybe
everybody thought Greg Newsome would be shipped out, and he was not. They probably didn't get the right package for him.
Right.
So I thought he was going to be shipped out there. I thought Jacksonville would probably make another move or two. They did not.
They're going to ride it out. And, I guess fair play to them, right? Jacksonville and the Browns. Maybe we heard Zaz say, Jonathan Zaslow, we had him on, and I asked him, what do you make of the Browns and the Jags? He goes, Riz, lost seasons. You got to chalk it up as lost seasons and, get better for next year. There are talent on both of those rosters.
Yeah, and the Browns did give away quite a bit and comparatively.
Cooper and Smith.
They gave away quite a bit. But, everybody thought that Newsome was going to be somebody that, a priority team needs to make a move for a corner. So he didn't do anything there. As for Jacksonville, they're not in cap hell like the Saints are. The Saints need to get money off the books. So from that perspective, I understand that. In a lot of ways, they just need to revamp that coaching staff, reload, and attack free agency differently with different leadership. So because of that, they're not necessarily forced to make a move. But in terms of a trade deadline, I thought they would perhaps ship somebody out here and there. I was surprised ultimately with the Rams moving on, but I understand with all the young talent and the money tied up, Ravens needed a corner more so than the Rams probably needed.
He hasn't played extraordinarily well for them either.
Well, they also they have so many. They have Kitchens, who's been terrific at corner now. They have like two rookies starting in that secondary.
Sometimes system too. Maybe he just hindsight. Looking back at it, maybe he wasn't the right system guy. But but that division's open.
And how about somebody who did make a move and shouldn't? Let's bring up the Dallas Cowboys and what Jerry Jones did. Bringing in Jonathan Mingo for a 4th-round pick. Jonathan Mingo, a 23-year-old. He's young, from the Carolina Panthers, and a guy who's, a good run blocker. You could input him here and there. Maybe some upside, but it hasn't really produced much in terms of his NFL career. Jerry Jones shipped a 4th-rounder for him.
Oh, I know. We talked about this.
That's a good substantial pick for trade deadline talk for a team that's won 3 games.
We talked about it yesterday. I said it was more likely that they would buy than sell, and look what happened. Cooper Rush has a new guy. He's got a new friend in town.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Trading for a receiver.
Nobody has any idea what Jerry's doing.
Trading for a receiver while your quarterback is out and you're most likely out of the thick of it already, being at 3-5. With the Eagles at 6-2 and with the Commanders at 7-2, we thought it'd be a great situation to unload a little bit.
Yeah, very strange. Nobody has any idea what Jerry's doing. Who had the best deadline or who should have made a move at the deadline? Let us know. 888-760-3776. That's 888-760-3776, the number to get into the program. Russo and Rizzo. Thursday Night Football happened last night. The Chiefs moved to 8-0. The Buccaneers put up a hell of a fight, leading most of the game. Mahomes, we thought he got hurt. He came back. They got the ball first in overtime, which seemingly happens every time the Chiefs go into these games, and they take them right down the field, and they score, and the other team does not get any sort of chance. The Baker didn't yesterday to tie it up, levy it up, and that's another situation. What happened yesterday at home for the Chiefs? They won 30-24 on Thursday Night Football, but a good game. We give our reactions to that next. Stick around. Russo and Rizzo, ESPN 106.3.
Live from the Anajar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios. Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. This is ESPN 106.3.
Theo here. EDS is yes. You've heard me say that over and over. So I need you to keep this website in mind too. EDSisyes.com. For the most trusted AC specialist here in Palm Beach County, EDSisyes.com. For 24/7 support, EDS is a trained comfort specialist. It's hard to stop a train. There are so many reasons why EDS is yes when it comes to your air conditioning and plumbing. EDSisyes.com. That's EDSisyes.com.
Hey, it's Josh Cohen. When you need auto repair, honesty and reliability are everything. Trust the home for honest, reliable service since 1970. St. Lucie Battery and Tire. St. Lucie Battery and Tire has all the tire and battery brands in stock for cars, trucks, RVs, marine, power sports, golf carts, everything. Major and minor service repairs, free tire pressure, battery checks. St. Lucie Battery and Tire, over 50 years in our community. And now with 18 full-service locations, West Palm to the Treasure Coast. Go to slbt.com. That's slbt.com.
The quality of our choices affects the quality of our lives. So, when it comes to how you move, do you choose to see a doctor or go to the #1 orthopedic specialist in the world, backed by a team who custom tailor your treatment? Do you choose to live with limitations or live life to the fullest by going to the place that's #1 at getting people back to what they love? Choose better, move better. Locations in West Palm Beach and Wellington. Learn more at hss.edu/Florida.
Is your credit on life support? Greenway Kia of West Palm Beach will be hosting a credit clinic at the dealership today and tomorrow. Local bank representatives will be on site to grant special approval to consumers who meet certain minimum criteria. If you have a job bringing home $350 weekly, the credit clinic at Greenway Kia of West Palm Beach wants to approve you so you can drive home your new Kia today. Greenway Kia of West Palm Beach will be hosting a credit clinic at the dealership today and tomorrow. Hello, is this thing on? I repeat, Greenway Kia of West Palm Beach will be hosting a credit clinic at the dealership today and tomorrow. If you have a job bringing home $350 weekly, the credit clinic wants to approve you for a new Kia today. So what are you waiting for? Don't miss the credit clinic today and tomorrow at Greenway Kia of West Palm Beach. Call 800-NEW-KIAs or go online at greenwaykiawestpalmbeach.com.
We want to see ya in a Greenway Kia.
Credit affects down payment and approval term.
Kaiser University's flagship campus, the 100-acre residential campus at 2600 North Military Trail in West Palm Beach, extends Kaiser University's educational offerings to over 100 degrees in the heart of South Florida. Kaiser University also has an athletic program with 20 national championships, including the 2024 Women's Swimming and Diving Championship and 2023 football, lacrosse, and men's swimming and diving titles. Visit KUSeahawks.com for the latest.
Let's get back to the Anajar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios. This is Russo and Rizzo on ESPN 106.3.
Monday Night Football happened last night on ESPN with Buck and Aikman on the call. You had a game in Kansas City between the broken down, beaten down, battered Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the undefeated Kansas City Chiefs, sitting at 7-0 before the game. Chiefs won this one OT, 30-24 final score. Chiefs moved to 8-0. Buccaneers dropped to 4-5, I believe. Wow.
Yep.
And you talk about a team that every week it's always ugly with the Chiefs, but winners know how to win. That is the key to the castle here. And Mahomes gets hurt. You thought he tore his ACL. You thought he did something. The knee popped out. You thought something happened on that touchdown there at the end of the game. And then all of a sudden he goes into the medical tent. He does a couple jumping jacks, and he comes out, and he's brand new. It's very strange.
He spoke on it after the game. He more or less said, I thought it was worse than it clearly was.
Yeah.
But to get helped off the field like that, you thought, all right, here we go. Here comes, the hell was back in? Was that Chad Henne on the sideline last night?
Is it still him? Yeah.
My God. Regardless, backup quarterback was slinging the rock, and then you saw Mahomes come back. And I just envy everything about the Chiefs, Colin. No matter what, if it's a close game, is there any doubt that this team is going to win? When Mayfield, and listen, Baker played great. I thought Mayfield played great, especially at the end of that game. When Mayfield went down and tied the game.
Excellent drive.
I was very intrigued. On
they should have went for 2.
And that's what I was going next. I was very intrigued on what Aikman said when he's like, listen, this isn't me taking shots at the Buccaneers, but when you have the 7-0 Kansas City Chiefs, you're on the road, you should have gone for it. And I agree. I don't want to. I hate saying you got nothing to lose because they're 500. They're 4-4. They're in the thick of it on everything, the division, the playoffs, whatever. Nothing to lose is the wrong term, but I go to what Buck and Aikman were talking about, more or less Aikman saying, listen, you have a chance. You don't want to go to overtime against Patrick Mahomes. You got to do this. And look what happened.
That's the key. You don't want to. There's a 50% chance that Patrick Mahomes gets the ball first in OT, right, and you could basically guarantee a loss at that point.
And that's exactly what happened. So I envy the Chiefs because you know they're going to win these close games. And Patrick Mahomes is just you're going to laugh at this. I thought it was a methodical 291 yards and 3 touchdowns by Mahomes last night. It's like he does this stuff in his sleep, and you look at the stat sheet at the end of the game and go, my God, dude, for damn near 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. It didn't even look like he did that.
Yeah, it perfectly run offense. The run game was very adequate.
And Kareem
Hopkins was great. They're a plug and play. They can play anybody in that offense, and they're going to work out.
So Kareem Hunt, who wasn't on a football team earlier this year, 27 carries, 106 yards, and a touchdown. And then another thing we haven't touched on yet, Travis Kelce, 14 catches for 100 yards. And the whole talk with Kelce is, he's done. He's not the player he used to be.
Well, he is not the player that he used to be, but he is, in terms of a postseason big game performer, probably top 1, if not 2, pass catchers in the National Football League. Off of that alone, that's what he is. That's what you saw.
You mentioned Hopkins, too. The shocker that a Kansas City Chief trade acquisition and addition to the team midseason is doing well. So I know we touched on it a little yesterday. You guys think the Lions are the best. Brother, give me the Chiefs. 10 days on Sunday, 10 days on Saturday.
I'm still in on the Lions based on what I'm seeing in the regular season, but it'd be foolish to doubt the Chiefs. So those two are on a crash course towards each other in terms of who the 2 best teams in the league are and who the 2 teams probably competing towards the end of the playoffs in the Super Bowl are going to be. If there's wide favorites on the other side, it's the Chiefs and it's the Lions. But in terms of your point about going for 2, absolutely go for 2. Aikman said it perfectly. You're on the road. You have a little bit of I don't know, care about the percentages analytics. You have a better chance at winning the game right here than you do with a coin flip, 50-50 chance of Mahomes even getting the ball first.
Right.
Your chances are better of you throwing everything in the air, either winning or losing the game with that 2-point conversion.
Colin, you know the overtime rules. You know you're not going to get the ball if they score on the first possession in the regular season.
I don't love that rule.
I can't stand it.
But I understand it to some degree, but I don't love it.
It's like, I don't mean to go back to last year's Super Bowl. It's why I couldn't believe Shanahan took the ball first. So more or less, I think the overtime rules stink as well.
Well, it's different in the postseason with
and
Shanahan. It's different in the postseason because they're going to get the ball. But I understand your point.
Yeah, and then it always just seems like the Chiefs are the topic of conversation when it comes to overtime. If it's the Josh Allen game in the playoffs, if it's what I alluded to with the Super Bowl and Shanahan taking it first and getting killed for it, and then last night. So overtime follows the Chiefs. Good teams win in overtime. And Kansas, it's not a shocker to me that Kansas City pulled this out on Monday night.
And who did it to them before anybody? Brady and the Patriots. Nobody did. Nobody made them pay.
Who was offsides, brother?
It was D Ford. So nobody makes it. They happen to them, and now they do it to everybody else.
Right.
It's the passing of the torch moment, if you will, on that end. But in terms of
what's impressed you the most about Kansas City this year?
I mean, they're winners. That's what they are. They got a great defense, but they're winners. And Todd Bowles sitting there post-game talking about, I do that decision again about not going for it. Todd, you're the defensive play caller. Your team gives up about 500 yards a game and 40 points a game. You let the Saints have 28 points in the second quarter a couple weeks ago with Spencer Rattler, a quarterback.
Right.
I cannot take you seriously when that is your perspective. You're playing not to lose. You're not playing to win. You are coaching not to lose. That is a recipe for disaster. And to the flip side, I understand that people tend to be a little over-aggressive against the Chiefs, and that's kind of the mantra when you have to play the Chiefs. Go for it on fourth down here when you normally wouldn't because it's the Chiefs. You're afraid of what they could do on offense. But at that point, you're on the road. You're a 500 team. Go for it all.
Everyone's hurt. You shouldn't even be in this position as
it
is.
Go for it all. Yes, go for it all. Do not play it safe.
Yeah.
And you have all the momentum in the world. I would have went for it. I really would have.
I would have too, and I love Buck and Aikman. I know we've talked about this before, but I think Buck and Aikman by far the best broadcast we have when it comes to football, maybe outside of Fowler and Herbstreit on the college side. But I'm going to answer my own question here. Andy Reid just continues to make me think he's one of the best to do it, Colin, but maybe to put him on the Belichick level and these other great coaches of NFL goes past. I mean, it seems to me he's the one who keeps the operation going. It helps when you have one of the generational quarterback, obviously, in Patrick Mahomes. But, that organization was such a dumpster fire before he got there. And even with Alex Smith, he made that team, reasonable. They were making the playoffs. They were winning the division. And then, shocker, he finds the quarterback, and they're able to go on this great run. I am just the most impressed this year with how Andy Reid continues to be one of the top-notch coaches in the NFL.
And he's so good, and he's probably top 5 at what he does. It's probably him, Belichick, Noel, Landry, Shula.
Right.
You go maybe Paul Brown at a certain point, Lombardi at a certain point. Lombardi would probably be in the top 5 as well. So there's a number of coaches, but he's in that echelon. He is there. And he hangs around there.
And you saw him do it in Philadelphia. The only thing he didn't have was a Super Bowl. You saw him have success. And lo and behold, he finally finds his quarterback and, quote unquote, did it the right way too. He drafted Mahomes, made him sit for a year at Alex Smith as the quarterback. And now all of a sudden the Chiefs have a juggernaut system. Fair play to him, man. And they're small market. And as a Brown fan, I envy that.
They're no longer small market.
But you get what I'm saying. Kansas City, I mean, come on.
I mean, I understand, but yeah, they a historic franchise at that too. So it's not like this is a brand new. They just created like the Jacksonville Jaguars or the Texans.
But you get what I'm saying. For this to
it's
happen,
a historic franchise.
For this to happen in Kansas City is great.
I guess I'm a little over it, but if you love it,
I don't. It's not that I love it. I just like that it wasn't a New York. It wasn't a Dallas. You know what I mean? Imagine if this was the Cowboys. How disgusting it would be.
Imagine if what was the Cowboys?
If the Cowboys were winning like the Chiefs were. I'd rather have it be Kansas City than Dallas. That's the point I'm trying to make.
I guess. Yeah, maybe. It's Russo and Rizzo on ESPN 106.3. We're going to talk to Mike Tannenbaum about all these, trade deadline moves that have gone on throughout the NFL. I want to get his thoughts on it. He's from a front office perspective. We could see what he thinks about quarterbacks being moved or, head coaches perhaps being fired. This is going to be a very tricky next couple weeks here because a lot of teams are entering their buys, their mid-year buys. This is the time of year where, this is where ownership starts to make decisions on getting coaches out because you give the interim enough of a shot with 6-7 weeks and or a bye to, give him a chance. But also to that point, you give yourself enough time where you don't have a coach that you could start having conversations before the big-time coaches that are going to be the coordinators that are upgraded go into the postseason. So there's two sides to that. I think a number of coaches, a surprising amount, might be let go here. I was under the impression a couple weeks ago there wouldn't be a lot of options. Wouldn't be a lot of teams that have openings.
Right. And now, like we said, too, kind of spawned up with the Raiders and the
Bears, Jacksonville. Of course, the Jets are already open.
I'd be interested.
Saints are open. Cowboys are probably going to be open.
I'd be interested with that Bear, just because I was so close to it for so long, Colin, with that Bears situation. Partner, if they didn't get rid of him last year, why would they get rid of him this year? Now, obviously, a lot of
because it's not working. They have a quarterback now, and it's not working.
The excuse is rookie quarterback. What he'll hide behind is, hey, my defense. I know the defense kind of got shredded last week against Arizona, but all season long, the defenses look pretty good. What does he handle? The defense. He'll go rookie quarterback. It didn't pan out for a year. Give me another year.
He also hasn't won a big road game, and if he gets shredded in this great division this year, then...
Can I rebuttal a step further, too? He's been hiding behind the whole bad quarterback play since Justin Fields. So.
Well, Justin Fields, in a lot of ways, was bad quarterback play.
I'm not arguing that, but there were talks about him being canned and just starting fresh this past year.
And he had benefit of the doubt because they played hard for him. And they played hard for him last year. They won a couple games. They made right moves. Poles is a great general manager. And now, all of a sudden, you're still losing games. It doesn't look great. You're not winning the games you should win, or at least competing in certain games.
Right.
You're very
You're in on Poles.
And
You're in on Poles.
Yes.
Okay.
He's done a good job. And off of that, now you got to make a decision to get him out, and there's a bunch of different options you could go. And, the Bears did a good job. You have a young quarterback. You have a good defense. You have a bunch of young guys on rookie contracts. This is the time to buy. Yeah,
you need O-line. That's what they need. That's what Poles for. Nonetheless, Bear fans are complaining that they got everything but an O-line for the rookie quarterback.
I agree, and that wasn't maybe the best move to get somebody like Rome Odunze, but in terms of building an offense, there's not a Bear fan in sight that will tell me that they were displeased with how that offense was constructed before Week 1.
What do you mean? They were winning the Super Bears Super Bowl?
I don't want to hear it. Everybody was so in on the Bears. So now that it hasn't worked and the offensive line does not look as good, you got to wear that. So in terms of, he's got time. Williams is figuring this out. We're going to talk to Mike Tannenbaum, ESPN NFL insider and former general manager of the New York Jets, former executive vice president of football operations for the Miami Dolphins. We'll talk to him next, get his thoughts on what happened in the trade deadline, what happened on Thursday Night Football. Chiefs moved to 8-0. Before, I got to tell you about Hard Rock Bet. Well, now, first half of the season concluded. Now we're in the second half of the football season. You've seen enough to know how teams are shaping up. There's no better time to try your first bet on Hard Rock Bet. You could bet as little as $1 in Week 6. A bettor in South Florida bet $1 on a first touchdown score parlay with 5 different players to score the first touchdown of their game on Sunday. Won $40,000 off a $1 bet. Hard Rock Bet has parlays for days. You can get involved in any different ways there. There are so many different ways to bet, so many different types of parlays. Check out the new Flex Parlay where you don't even have to hit every leg of your parlay to get paid. If you're feeling confident, you could turn out the payouts to pay out more than every leg. Or even if you want a safety net, you could level out your payout so you can get more cash back if you miss a leg or two. So you don't even have to get every leg of the parlay, and you could still get money out of it. You could still cash out. You could still play along the rules. That's how good Hard Rock Bet is. That's how, malleable it is to utilize parlays. And the NBA's back. College basketball, tipped off yesterday with a full slate of games. So now you can get involved on basketball side of things. There's a whole different plethora of player props, overs, win totals, futures that you could get involved in. November's a huge month for rivalry in college football. There's going to be Saturday's action where there's going to be a ton of big-time games, Alabama, LSU being one of them this Saturday. Try your bet at any sport, pro football, college basketball, hockey, MMA, you name it. Get so many different options to bet every single night right now. No matter what sport you bet, if that first bet does not win, you get to $100 back to try again. That's up to $100 back as a bonus bet for another shot if that first one does not go through. Try today. $100 back in bonus bets if that first one does not hit. That's Hard Rock Bet. It's offered by the Seminole Tribe of Florida. Must be 21 plus and physically present in Florida to wager. Terms and conditions apply. Concerned by gambling, call 1-888-ADMIT. Stick around for Mike Tannenbaum, ESPN NFL Insider, joining us next on Russo Rizzo, ESPN 106.3.
Live from the Anajar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios. Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. This is ESPN 106.3.
When it comes to choosing a health plan, you can trust the members who have experienced it firsthand. Humana is proud to offer a Medicare Advantage plan in Florida that earned 5 out of 5 stars. 5 stars is the highest rating possible. It's based on real members' experiences, and it's decided by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. Our Humana Gold Plus HMO earned 5 out of 5 stars. That means a few things. It means members get outstanding customer service. It means we connect them with excellent preventive care and chronic condition support. Most of all, it means you have a trustworthy option for a Medicare Advantage plan. Explore our 5-star Humana Gold Plus HMO at humana5star.com. Humana, a more human way to healthcare. Every year, Medicare evaluates plans based on a 5-star rating system. Humana is a Medicare Advantage HMO organization with a Medicare contract. Enrollment in any Humana plan depends on contract renewal.
Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys at 1-800-747-FREE, 1-800-747-FREE. Listen, if you were in an accident, car accident, truck accident, slip and fall, trip and fall, injured on the job, workers' comp issues, call Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. They will fight for you. They do not get paid unless you get paid, and they will fight to get you the maximum compensation that you know that you deserve. Do not deal with the insurance companies on your own. That's impossible. They make it as such. Anajar and Levine will help you to take back control of your life. Again, you'll always talk about your case with an actual attorney. They answer the phone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to help you to take back control of your life. Call 1-800-747-FREE, 1-800-747-3733. Car accidents, truck accidents, slip and fall, trip and fall. Call Anajar and Levine, my accident attorneys. Anajar and Levine, accident attorneys. Take back control of your life.
You've got so many chances to win big on Hard Rock Bet. Even a small bet can bring in that serious cash. All you need is $1 and a dream.
Unbelievable. They've hit the parlay.
Let's go! Big payouts for every kind of player.
Hard Rock Bet. Roll with us.
Get up to $100 back if your first bet doesn't win. Payable and bonus bet up to $100, not a cash offer. Offered by the Seminole Tribe of Florida. Must be 21 plus and physically present in Florida to wager. Terms and conditions apply. Concerned about gambling? Please call 1-888-ADMIT-IT.
Palm Beach County's premier college football event is back. Don't miss the 2024 Boca Raton Bowl, Wednesday, December 18th from FAU Stadium and broadcast live on ESPN. Last year's game saw in-state Rising Power USF beat Syracuse out of the ACC. What will this year's game have in store? Big names, big teams, big action. The 2024 Boca Raton Bowl, December 18th at FAU Stadium on ESPN. Don't miss out. Find out more at BocaRatonBowl.com.
Hurricane fans, the final game of the season is here. Join us on November 23rd at Hard Rock Stadium as the Hurricanes take on the Demon Deacons of Wake Forest. It's Senior Day, a day to honor the incredible players who have given their all to the U. Let's give them a send-off they'll never forget and fill the stadium with Hurricanes pride. Don't miss out. Get your tickets today by visiting MiamiHurricanes.com or by calling 1-800-GO-CANES.
If you are buying a new home in Palm Beach County, whether it's your first time or you're upgrading or downsizing, the clerk's office is the services you need to help protect your investment. Sign up for our Property Fraud Alert program, offering free monitoring of Palm Beach County's official records. You will get an alert if a document, such as a deed or mortgage, is recorded using your name or address. For more information, head to our website at mypalmbeachclerk.com/homeowners. Congratulations on your new home. We are always here to help.
At Unlimited Auto Wash, it's always a great day to get a wash. Hi, this is Kevin Dalton, the owner of Unlimited Auto Wash Club. Your car is dirty and you want it washed, but it might rain. No worries, we have a 72-hour rain check offer. For any reason, bring your car back for a free outside hand wash within 72 hours. Or join our Unlimited Club and receive unlimited hand washes inside and out with Tire Shine starting at $44.95 per month. Unlimited Auto Wash with 6 locations. Visit unlimitautowashclub.com or call 561-WASH-ME-TOO.
Yeah, man. Let's get back to the Anajar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios. This is Russo and Rizzo on ESPN 106.3.
The 5th of November right here in West Palm Beach on Russo and Rizzo, ESPN 106.3. Colin Russo, Mike Rizzo, Christian Cat, of course, behind the glass as always. Election day today. The traffic is not as bad as anticipated. Everybody was under the impression that with Trump in the area at the Palm Beach Convention Center that this would be ground zero Chernobyl. But it turns out downtown West Palm Beach was not impossible to get into and get my car into and park and the whole thing. Not like I was led to believe the other way. So that's our takeaway there. But NFL trade deadline came and went, 4 p.m., a bunch of big moves. We want to break that down. We got the insider. We got somebody who knows what he's talking about, who's been in these rooms on trade deadlines. Mr. Mike Tannenbaum, ESPN NFL insider, former general manager of the New York Jets, former executive vice president of football operations for the Miami Dolphins, joins us now. Mr. Tannenbaum, how are we doing today? What's going on?
What's up, Mike?
Gentlemen, good afternoon. How are we doing?
Excellent. So, of course, I want to get, before we jump into every single move, I want to get your perspective on the deadline. How did you approach the deadline? I know it changes year by year, but when you were in a general manager or front office role, were you always under the impression that the deadline is always the fun part of the year where you could kind of buy and sell here and there, or did you like to step back and let everybody else engage in the chaos? What was your takeaway on how the deadline is handled?
I was very fortunate. Usually we were very much in it this time of year, so I always look at it as an opportunity to get better. It's hard to improve your team, and you saw a number of teams today take advantage of that opportunity because, look, there's free agent signings, practice squad signings, but this was legitimately one of the very last ways you can improve your team for the season.
Right, and talking about improving your team, I think the biggest egg off the board was probably Marshawn Lattimore going from New Orleans Saints to the Washington Commanders. I think this hit was a home run. I know Lattimore hasn't necessarily been ultra available, and he's expensive, but in terms of a team that can afford it and a team that needs it, I feel like this is a home run move by the Commanders. Would you agree?
Yeah, and he has 2 more years at very reasonable salaries, around $20 million. So I think it's good for today, tomorrow, next year, year after. And you look at this Commander team, Jaden Daniels getting the headlines. This defense is playing better, and now they have a frontline difference-making corner.
Mike, Zadarius Smith going to the Lions. You surprised they didn't get anything, quote-unquote, stronger at that position?
Mike, I just think it's hard. It's hard to find pass rushers that are available. Zadarius Smith is a B. He's a solid player. He's better than, what they have now with both Marcus Davenport and Aiden Hutchinson out. I give the Detroit Lions, credit for being as resourceful as possible.
What's your take on that? Teams selling the bank in a lot of ways. If you're a contender, if you're in a position to win, are you okay with utilizing that deadline? The other team has a lot of leverage there to give up like the farm if you were to get somebody like a Max Crosby or a top A-list type of player. Are you in favor of making a move mid-year like that, or does it cause maybe too many problems? It's almost to a fault. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I think you could do it at corner. When you play man-to-man, it's easy to assimilate, same as a, pass rusher. But some positions are harder to get them, acclimated as quickly as possible. So that's why you don't see, the blockbusters, the Myles Garrett or the Max Crosbys typically. But, with that said, we did see a number of moves that I think will impact teams, but more of the blockbuster stuff I think will happen in March when, free agency begins.
The Steelers relatively active, adding a receiver and a defensive player. Mike, did you like what they did? Do you think that this is a move that's going to push them over to win the division?
I did like both the moves. Not many teams have 2 corners that can match up with George Pickens and Mike Williams. And then Preston Smith is a good, valuable guy, good rotational guy. He'll back up Highsmith and obviously TJ Watt. To be candid, guys, a little surprised that Green Bay would let Preston Smith go.
Are the Commanders at this point, how do they view the next couple of years here? They're making a move like that for Lattimore. Are they in a position now where, okay, the clock, it almost started the timer. All right, you got Jaden Daniels now for 3-4 years here before we got to think about any sort of extension. This is the time where you got to put all your pieces everywhere else on the chessboard because you're fortunate enough to have a adequate quarterback on a rookie contract. What's the perspective of a team like that? Did they almost like click the button? All right, now we're starting. Now the timer has hit Super Bowl window. Is that what we're seeing for the Commanders?
Yeah, I think teams generally take advantage of the rookie quarterback contracts. We've seen it with San Francisco, with Purdy now for a couple of years where they could add pieces. And that's something that, good teams do. They're opportunistic on these rookie deals because, in 3 years, Jaden Daniels will be making $60 million plus. So Lattimore was a good pick, but this is a team that also added Austin Eckler, Zach Ertz, Bobby Wagner. A lot of B players, high character veteran guys. And look, I don't know if they get to the Super Bowl, but they became a lot more interesting today.
Mike, you mentioned you were surprised that they went the wayside. Excuse me, Green Bay went the wayside with Preston Smith. Is it because they have more confidence, maybe, in some other guys on that defense?
Well, they drafted Lucas Van Ness a year ago,
right.
First round. They got Rashawn Gary coming off of the ACL. I'm just saying, if I'm Green Bay, it's all in front of me. Jordan Love's going to get healthier. And he's a guy that can, he's, a 31-year-old veteran, but he could still give you 20, 25 snaps a game. And that's why I was a little surprised, guys, that, they let him go.
Yeah, Mike, give me a feel into how the general managers communicate on a week like this where, the clock's ticking. It's the last couple days before the deadline. Are the phones ringing nonstop? Do you have the relationships with the other general managers where you there's a reputation aside and you're like, all right, I know I could get something from this guy and he's not going to highball me. What is sort of the general manager to general manager, I guess, reputations and how it's handled in the last couple days before the deadline?
Yeah, I mean, typically you're talking to teams on a pretty regular basis. And I think part of it is you think about, surplus and needs, right? What are your surplus and needs? What are other teams? And you look at a team like Houston, look, they could use a guard, they could use a receiver with both Nico Collins being out and Stephon Diggs. So are they talking to the Rams possibly about Cooper Kupp? Maybe they were, maybe they weren't. But now, the Rams won a couple games, including, a great road game against Seattle. Now all of a sudden they go from sellers to maybe buyers. I think it's just constantly communicating with your peers about where you think you are.
Mike, why are the Cowboys buying?
I think with Mingo, Mike, they felt like, hey, this was a guy that we liked a lot coming out. He was the 39th pick a year ago, and we could get him at, for a fourth-round pick and feel good about the value, of him for the next couple of years. I mean, the other question would be is, Carolina, why would you give up on a guy, in a year and a half when you've had quarterback play that's inconsistent at best? You obviously liked him, and, why would you give up on a good young player that, again, you could have for another 2.5 years at relatively, inexpensive prices?
So, Mike, you liked that move from the sounds of it.
I do. I think he's a good player. I know there's some mixed feelings about him, but for a fourth-round pick to get cost certainty on a guy that's big and could run, I think that's pretty good value. Obviously, he hasn't played well, but, again, I think if you're evaluating it, how many skilled players have played well in Carolina?
Mike, from your perspective, how is Jerry Jones handling this season, and how is Jerry Jones really viewing the Cowboys as a whole? Do you think he's a little nearsighted? Of course, he's the 82 years old, and he wants to win now. But is he almost not seeing the obvious picture that they need to rearrange some things and decide where they want to go in the future at the Cowboys?
Colin's totally fair. I think the most underrated aspect of team building is correctly evaluating your own, and clearly he's misevaluated, what they have, be it offensive line or running back position, most notably maybe another inside linebacker, although I think Overshone's played well the last couple of weeks. So to me, it really started with the offseason. As Greeny has said, they've gotten more expensive. They haven't gotten better. And I think certainly, if they had signed Derrick Henry, that would have made a material difference because that would have allowed some of these other problems they've had to go to the background and control the line of scrimmage, control the clock, keep your defense on the sidelines.
Little two-pronger here, Mike. Who do you think should have bought, and who do you think should have sold more?
Yeah, Houston bought for sure. I thought they should have added, a guard and a receiver. And then, in terms of selling, sometimes it's easier said than done.
Right.
When you're saying, there are players available, you got to make sure that it just has to check a lot of boxes. The owner, the head coach, the GM, you want to get requisite value. So, again, maybe a team like the Rams would have been a seller a couple of weeks ago, but no longer.
Mike Tannenbaum, ESPN NFL Insider, joining Russo and Rizzo now on ESPN 106.3. Mike, let's shift to the coaches a little bit. There's a number of coaches that, of course, hot seat, not so hot seat. We don't know what's going on with Antonio Pierce in Las Vegas. Matt Eberflus, I think, has entered himself into the conversation where the Bears might be done with him here pretty soon. Peterson, of course. I want to, before we get into, who's hot, who's not on those coaches' seats, I want to ask you, from a front office perspective, when you're evaluating coaches, quarterbacks, How important is the relationship with the coaches and the players, and especially the quarterback, that determines whether the coach is in or out? Do you listen to if the quarterback is bought and paid for under contract, is that sort of the favorite side that ownership and the front office can take? And is the coach the odd man out in a lot of these situations if there's a little bit of a disconnect there?
No, I think you need organizational alignment. And look, I've hired head coaches and had them interview Ryan Tannehill or Chad Pennington. Those guys weren't making the decisions, but we wanted their feedback. Likewise, you may talk to veteran players on certain things. You trust and value their opinion, but there's a fine line between having your input sought and making them the decision maker.
Mike, are we going to see another midseason head coaching fire this year?
You guys just brought up a couple. I don't think so. I guess I would be surprised, maybe not shocked, but the Saints and the Jets were sort of at the top of the list. I guess I would be surprised to see another one.
The one thing I would say is maybe Peterson with the bye coming up for Jacksonville. They have Minnesota this weekend. If they put up another stinker and have a terrible performance once again, I wouldn't be surprised if he was out. But what about Eberflus here? Do you think the Bears are 0-18 on Sundays at home on the road for Eberflus? They play pretty hard for him, but offensively they just haven't been able to figure out. I know that's not his ballpark, but in a lot of ways, is this sort of just like a rinse and release type of thing where they should just look for new leadership at the coaching position?
Yeah, I think that's fair to bring that up, but I think part of it though is, did you make that decision when you went ahead and brought him back and drafted a rookie quarterback? So I'd be disappointed if they pivoted so quickly. I'm just more a believer of let's measure twice and cut once, and we know Caleb Williams' development's not going to be in a straight line, but let's at least know what we're doing here relative to what the expectations are. So I'm not saying that Matt Eberflus is a great coach, but I don't know. To me, there's some inconsistency in that logic if you let him go.
Last thing from me, Mike. Do you see it from Caleb Williams so far?
Yeah, I like him. I think he runs around a little bit too much. I don't like the way how he bails backwards. That really puts strains on the offensive lineman, but he's a good athlete, accurate. I think there just needs to be a little bit of a calming impact on his overall game and his tempo, because I think sometimes he just forces things.
Mike, what have you seen from the Chiefs so far? Of course, they're 8-0, and they've played a lot of close games and proven winners. They bought a bit at the deadline or near the deadline. They didn't necessarily make another move like everybody thought they would. Is this a situation where the NFL is basically the 1A, 1B of the Lions and the Chiefs, and then a large gap to everybody else?
Yeah, I mean, they won last night without their A game. That's truly the sign of greatness. So I think if you said it was Detroit and Kansas City, I don't think anybody would be surprised. But look, Mahomes, it looked like he sprained his ankle. It turned out it was fine. But this has really become a defensive team, and credit Andy Reid for flipping the script the way he has.
Mike, if you had to pick today, I'm going to put you on the spot here, lasso of truth. If you had to pick today, Lions or the Chiefs?
I don't think I have to answer that question, Mike, because you already said you had your last question.
Oh, okay, you're right.
Yeah, I know he's out.
So
you're right. You're right. But Mike, when I have the lasso of truth, partner, you're not allowed to lie. So it gave me an extra one.
I would go with Kansas City. I just don't think you go against Mahomes. Boy, that would be a great game. And look, we got a long way to go, but right now you'd say they're the two best teams, and it'd be a great matchup in New Orleans.
Appreciate all the time, Mike. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk next week.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, guys. Thanks.
You got it. That's Mike Tannenbaum, ESPN NFL Insider, former GM of the New York Jets and Executive Vice President of Football Operations for the Miami Dolphins. He joined us there. Joins us weekly. He's the best. He always gives us the insight. A trade deadline. Thursday Night Football came and went. Halfway point of the NFL season. We'll do a little 5 and 5. Joel Embiid, breaking news, suspended 3 games by the NBA for shoving a reporter in regard to an article that this reporter, Marcus Hayes of the Inquirer in Philadelphia, wrote and alluded to Joel Embiid's deceased son and brother, I believe. So Joel Embiid is now suspended by the NBA for 3 games. We'll give our some thoughts on that. We'll do a little 5 and 5. Stick around. Russo and Rizzo, ESPN 106.3.
I'm Wendy Sartori-Link, your Palm Beach County Supervisor of Elections. Tuesday, November 5th is Election Day, and the polls are open 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Find where you vote at votepalmbeach.gov. Remember to bring your photo and signature ID. If you still have a mail ballot, you can either vote in person at your polling location, drop it off at one of our drop-off locations during designated hours, or bring it to our main office by 7 p.m. on Election Day. It's an honor to serve and ensure your vote counts. See you at the polls. Sponsored by the Palm Beach County Supervisor of Elections Office.
Point.
Hey, you okay? You don't normally miss those shots.
I just haven't been as regular lately, and it's making me feel sluggish.
You should try Metamucil. It's been a game changer for me. Metamucil's plant-based psyllium fiber helps trap and remove the waste that weighs you down.
Ace.
You're moving better than you were last week.
Definitely.
Metamucil keeps you moving. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Learn more at metamucil.com.
Hear that? The sound of water being poured on 800-degree rocks. If you were here in this sauna, you'd be so hot you wouldn't have the energy to move. But you're not here. Because your self-care happens out on the road, riding your motorcycle protected by Progressive. Besides, after a long ride, a helmet sweat is way more satisfying. So if you ride, switch to Progressive, America's #1 motorcycle insurer, without even breaking a sweat. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states.
PNC Bank is committed to making a difference in the South Florida community. That's why they offer military banking products, champion veteran-owned businesses, and provide support to local organizations that empower veterans and their families with the resources they need to succeed. PNC Bank. See how they can help you at pnc.com/military. The PNC Financial Services Group, Incorporated, all rights reserved. PNC Bank, National Association, member FDIC.
Anajar and Levine.
Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733.
ESPN 1063.
WUUB Jupiter, a Good Karma Brands radio station. Time now for a PNC pause. PNC Bank is committed to helping the customers and the communities they serve move forward financially. See how they can make a difference for you at PNC.com.
Sports fans, it's the best time of the year. It's fall when everything is happening. Football's back. Fighting gets real. Baseball playoffs. Get ahead of the action. Plan your time now to be at Twin Peaks, the ultimate guys lodge, the ultimate sports lodge. Never ever a cover to watch any fights, any MMA, UFC, or boxing pay-per-views. Always watch for free. Of course, the eats, the drinks, the signature scenic views, and of course, Twin Peaks 29-degree ice-cold beer made from scratch favorites like their burgers, wings, mozzarella bites, and so much more. Happy hour weekdays. Take advantage of $5 man-sized drafts. And remember, never ever pay a cover to watch any of the fights. Your official UFC fight headquarters is your official football headquarters all week long, all season long. Eats, drinks, scenic views, 29-degree beers. Twin Peaks, the ultimate guys lodge for everything sports.
ESPN 1063 is presented by Rubenstein Law. 1-800-FL-LEGAL. Car accident, truck accident, Uber or Lyft accident, or a slip and fall. Call Rubenstein Law. Call 1-800-FL-LEGAL and visit one of our offices throughout Florida.
The quality of our choices affects the quality of our lives. So, when it comes to how you move, do you choose to see a doctor or go to the #1 orthopedic specialist in the world, backed by a team who custom tailor your treatment? Do you choose to live with limitations or live life to the fullest by going to the place that's #1 at getting people back to what they love? Choose better, move better. Locations in West Palm Beach and Wellington. Learn more at hss.edu/Florida.
Now, it's time for a little R&R.
All into the bucket, lays it up and in.
Live in the Anajar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios, this is Russo and Rizzo on ESPN 1063.
This team is going to be tough when they finally get it together.
Sit back and relax. Let Russo and Rizzo take you home.
Oh, mercy!
Action-packed Tuesday right here in West Palm Beach. The NFL trade deadline has came and went. Halfway point of the NFL season official. Week 9, goodbye after the Tampa Bay Buccaneers fell to the Kansas City Chiefs in overtime yesterday in Kansas City. Bunch of moves made. Commanders going to get Lattimore. Zadarius Smith going to the Lions. Preston Smith and Mike Williams going to the Steelers. Tre'Davious White going to the Ravens. Whole lot went on. Whole lot more to do. It's Russo and Rizzo on ESPN 1063. My name is Colin Russo. Joined alongside me is Mike Rizzo and Christian Cat, of course, behind the glass on the ones and twos. It's been a fun one. Talked to Mike Tannenbaum If you missed any of the show, of course, listen back, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, or you can watch us, see our pretty faces on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. We are streaming there as well.
C-Cat, what's going on, man?
Not too much.
I'm happy to see you made it to work today after, what we got told is that we weren't going to be able to go 5 paces without being stopped by a traffic light.
That was the case. That was the case. And you know what's interesting? There's a ton of action today. It's Election Day. And, of course, everybody's out and about getting to vote. That's where the action was. But if you want to find the action on December 18th, Mike can tell you all about it.
Yes, folks, it is the 11th annual Boca Raton Bowl, December 18th at FAU Stadium. We're going to be kicking off at 5:30. You can secure your tickets as well by going to BocaRatonBowl.com/tickets. That's BocaRatonBowl.com/tickets. You can get signed up for your 2024 pre-sale sign up. I mean, what's better than beach and football? We got it all at the Boca Raton Bowl coming up here December 18th. And tomorrow we will have Boca Bowl Weekly coming up with myself, Mike Rizzo, where we go through what happened in the college football week the previous week. We look forward to this upcoming week and check in on a couple of teams that we might be seeing in the 11th annual Boca Raton Bowl. So we're going to have a lot of fun tomorrow with that. Let's get your tickets at BocaRatonBowl.com/tickets.
C-Cat, who'd you vote for? I'm just kidding.
I voted for you voted for everyone around me because I voted for America.
Colin, Russo and Rizzo 2024, man. I'd be a hell of a VP.
You're not a president?
Immediately seated. Whoa.
I'd be a hell of a vice president. I really would. Just smile all day and get to, shoot the you-know-what with everyone.
You wouldn't want to be president?
God, no.
You wouldn't like the campaigning? What would be the part that you don't like?
Just probably the big decision-making, honest to God. I'd like to be just second in command.
That's a job.
You don't want to make the big decisions with the country on the line?
No. Stroke of the pen.
No. The VP, I feel like, just gets to shake hand and kiss babies more often than not.
I think it's the exact opposite. In all honesty, I think it is. Yeah, I think.
You think it's VP more than the president?
Based on zero knowledge,
I don't think so. I don't know.
I'm just judging on vibes.
I nonetheless.
The VP will get like one or two things that they focus on. The president does everything.
I nonetheless, the show's Russo and Rizzo. Collins won two. Brother, I'd be a hell of a vice president. That's the only thing I wanted to get across there. So
you think you'd be able to hold up in a debate style against your opposing vice president?
Dude, I could make water out of oil.
You can make water out of oil, but you want to be the vice president instead of.
Strive for the other way around. You should try to make oil out of water. That would solve a lot of
oil.
You're probably right. Who am I kidding? There's a plethora of water in the world.
Let's get to some 5 and 5.
Number 1.
So number 1 is the trade deadline has came, and look at the clock. It has went. 4 p.m. was the buzzer time. Which NFL football team made the best move in your opinion?
I think based off of need and, bolstering, I think the Commanders made the most impact move.
Well, they got the best player, right?
They got the best player available. But in terms of making the right move at the right time, I think this Zadarius Smith one should take the cake. Because if they wanted to ride it out, there's no time for riding it out. I would have been on board with them going heavier and going for a heavier hitter at pass rusher. But in terms of needing help, I wouldn't say it was an immediate need, but it gives you something. You need that. So I like that.
I'm going to go with Lattimore because I think he's the best player. And I said this earlier, but fair play to the Commanders, man. I truly don't think they'd be at 7-2 at this point in the year. It's a young quarterback. It's a rookie quarterback, rookie head coach. To be 7-2 is a position to where you got to go for it, right? If you're 7-2, you got to do your locker room and your team, who has fought so doggone hard for you, the due diligence of going for it. So it is absolutely the Commanders for me.
Number 2.
Number 2.
Bryce Young. Hey, he's still a Carolina Panther after not being traded before the deadline, and many other players who were maybe expected to shift around the league also did not get moved. Who should have gotten moved? That's still in their home.
As for a specific player,
I got one. It is Bryce Young for me, just because I know I've told you this in the past. I don't think he'll be the quarterback next year. And listen, this doesn't mean that they're not going to get rid of him in the offseason. Mike Tannenbaum, who we just had on, astutely pointed out, you could get rid of, you could wheel and deal in March.
Maybe you lose all your leverage in that case. So there's no leverage.
To that point, I am a little shocked Bryce Young didn't get traded because I truly think they'll probably be drafting a quarterback with their first. They have their first round pick this year too, so I think they'll be taking a quarterback.
I don't know. I'm on the opposite end of that spectrum. I think they're going to stick around with Young. I'm not saying I was sold in that this guy's a franchise quarterback, but I think you got your due diligence at that point to give him more of a shot here. You just turned over a new leaf. He just took a step forward for really the first time in his NFL career. He just took a step forward. If they traded him, that would have been very demoralizing to the guy. Maybe it would have been better off for his career.
These teams, to Colin, they don't care about that.
Yeah, but
they look out for themselves.
I understand that, but I think they used the number 1 overall pick on him. I think you owe him a little bit more than a season and 5 games. And I know I agreed with Anthony Richardson being benched, but that was a different circumstance because that team's a little bit more win now ready.
And let's be honest, Young has had better moments than Richardson this year, in my opinion. I know Richardson.
Young is, what do you mean?
I thought he's had better moments on the field than
Bryce
Richardson.
Young?
He
has not.
I think Richardson
he had his first good game on Sunday.
Richardson has been equally as bad. That game Young had this past week is better than anything Richardson's done all year.
Yeah, but Richardson's had, Richardson's not a 4-quarter quarterback, but in terms of a half here and there and in play, he is, in terms of physical talent, is definitely
he's 6'4", 230.
Young was seeing ghosts out there losing by 40 points. At least Richardson was keeping them in games at some point. So from that perspective,
look at me defending Bryce Young, who thought the last thing on that, he's got the better team too. So
I understand, but I'm not any Anthony Richardson defender. I think he stinks, but I don't think Bryce Young has been all that great. I think he just had a very good game. I don't think you could say that throughout the season Bryce Young has looked anything close to very good or good at that matter, except for what you saw on Sunday, which you solid.
Who is a Bryce Young away from changing their outlook of this season?
Well, people thought get him on a rookie contract, maybe a team like the Browns. I didn't want him. But there were rumblings from the papers that take on a rookie contract, you could afford it for now with the Watson deal being a nightmare.
The only one that comes to mind, maybe the Giants. Maybe.
Because, the overreaction was when Tua went down again, that was kind of the logical move people made. But now he's back, so.
I think he's playing pretty well. I don't know why you wouldn't ride it out.
Last one, I heard the Saints.
Saints? They have a rookie quarterback on their as their backup.
Rattler?
Yeah.
The thought process there that I read at least was, since Young is quote-unquote not necessarily ready, have him sit behind Carr.
I mean, I guess. The thing is, it's interdivision, too. That would be a strange one.
And Bryce Young, more or less.
That would be strange. It's interconference.
No, you're right.
Interdivision.
You're right. It's just nonetheless things that I read. And the thought process, too, is Rattler, 4th-round pick, Young, number 1 pick overall, that lure.
I guess. 2 rookie quarterbacks from, I think that would be a little much. But the Giants would have made sense, maybe.
Well, he's year 2. Young's year 2.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah, I guess year 2 versus year 1. Whatever. Tomato. But I think the Giants would have made sense. I don't know who else would have made a move for him that are quarterback needy. You're using him to store him. You're not trading for him to play him immediately, which is why it's not pressing at the deadline. So I don't know. I'm rooting for the kid.
And then the last one for me that I already brought up, Max Crosby. Was a little shocked that the Raiders didn't cash in on a couple of 1st-round picks there.
Yeah, they probably should have in hindsight. But let's get to number 3.
Number 3.
Lost my spot for a second there. The first college football playoff ranking is coming up tonight. Double screen with the election coverage. Is anything going to surprise us tonight?
I mean, Oregon will be 1. I think Ohio State 3, Georgia 2. My reaction is no. I know that maybe on the back end of 11, 12, maybe that back end of the college football playoff might surprise us a little bit. Maybe the committee is higher on some of these other teams.
I'm curious where they put a 1-loss Texas A&M.
Notre Dame. Notre Dame was the one I was beating around the bush on was Notre Dame. Where's Notre Dame going to be?
Where's Indiana going to be? How do they view that schedule? I think that's going to be very telling of how the committee versus the AP poll views Indiana. I think I'll be interested to see that. Where they put Alabama and LSU, do they put them both in to make the game look a little better? How do they handle that? So there's a couple teams that I think, in terms of a surprise, I think Indiana will be higher than, what are they right now? 8?
8.
I think they would be higher. I think they're going to be higher
on
than
the
what people
CFP.
say. Yeah, I do.
No way.
You relayed a very good point from Joel Klatt, I believe, about how the
Love
AP
Klatt.
poll is just people not wanting to admit they're wrong.
Right, and that's what Klatt said, yeah.
And I thought that's very important for people to hear as to why the difference between the CFP rankings
This is different
and the
perspective.
AP.
This is a complete
But
different
we've
perspective.
seen the CFP kind of not
like this. Not like this.
Punish is the wrong word, but Indiana's played absolutely nobody.
They're undefeated. How do they view the undefeated team versus the AP poll that started with that team out of the ranking?
I think they put a team like Tennessee higher on there who's got a better win against Alabama. I think Tennessee is higher than Indiana coming up tonight.
Maybe.
Like these one-loss SEC teams will be obviously Georgia, but I don't know. Don't be surprised if Penn State's higher than Indiana as well.
That would be interesting too. I would put Indiana over Penn State today and
I wish
tomorrow,
they played.
and I think they will too.
I wish they played, guys.
They'll
honest to God.
probably lined up together with one before the other. Like it's going to be Penn State, Indiana, or Indiana, Penn State, wherever they rank them.
The AP has Penn State at 6, Indiana at 8. But to Colin's point and Klatt's point, I mean, these people that just don't want to admit that they're wrong. But I still think the committee will probably put Penn State on there. But to your guys' point, before Colin freaks out on me, Penn State hasn't played any. Penn State
You
hasn't
guys are
beaten
so high
anybody.
on Penn State. Penn State stinks.
Penn State hasn't beaten anybody, but they have a good loss. They have a good loss.
Good loss said nobody ever. Jeez, at home, it's not a good loss.
I think Ohio State's loss was good
It's
on
not.
the road
It's
at
not.
number 1.
It's not terrible, but they were at home. They were ranked higher than.
No, he's talking about Ohio State's loss to Oregon.
No, you know what? Good losses exist.
He's talking Ohio State has a good loss against Oregon. I mean,
Is
if
Penn
Ryan
State losing at home as their higher ranked team undefeated, is that considered the same thing?
That's not a bad loss. How about that? That's not.
I'm
nothing
with
good
CK.
about it.
It's not a Northern
Hey, there's
Illinois
no
loss for
offensive,
Notre Dame.
no
Colin.
offensive touchdown. There's
Colin,
nothing good about it.
I mean, Ohio State beat a top 5, top 3 team on the road. You know, Penn State's a good football
I
team.
love how he
CK.
changes his tune. Such a phony about Ohio State. Such a phony. It's incredible. Number 4.
Number 4.
Garrett Cole. He decided to opt back into his 4-year contract with the Yankees after initially opting out. What needs to change for the New York Yankees?
Well, if you think about it, they're letting go a lot of pieces. They're going to need a first baseman. They're going to need a couple infielders. You got to see how you're going to deploy that. Stanton's not getting any younger. Judge is not getting any younger. Cole's not getting any younger.
Stanton can't move.
So what are you going to do there? I mean, you're the Yankee fan of the bunch. I think that they're going to need to go get a power bat at first base if that or somewhere in the infield, whether that be a Christian Walker or something like that. But they're going to need to make a splash, and I don't think it's going to be poised to Soto.
C-Cap, before you go, you got to re-sign Soto, and you got to improve the back end of the lineup. Look what the Dodgers did with the Edman and some of those guys that are hitting 7, 8, 9. You got none of that with the Yanks.
Yeah, I think that the Yankees have always struggled looking across the division, making the most of what they had, taking guys who are not coming into the organization as highly touted, highly paid guys, and making them serviceable like Tommy Edman. It's almost an organizational staffing fix that needs to make. Outside of that, playing some good defense, I don't know, infield, outfield, practice. But I think Jock Peterson's a name. The Yankees have flirted with bringing him in, brutalizing that short portion right field. I would love
brother,
Peterson.
let me ask you this. Is Jock Peterson just another Verdugo, though? I know Peterson, nonetheless, was an all-star, last year, 2 years ago? But I feel like that's similar to a Verdugo signing.
No, I think it's similar to a Rizzo signing when Rizzo did sign or get traded to the Yankees, then re-sign with them. That's what I think it is. And Rizzo's been fine for the Yankees.
Yeah, he's out now. They declined his option, and I know they brought in Trammell and the outfield from Houston. But think about this for a second. I think Torres is going to be out. So you're going to need Torres, somebody to replace Torres, somebody to replace Rizzo. That's the whole right side of the infield. Volpe will be in there. You got to assume Dominguez will replace Verdugo in left field. And then you got aging outfielders, and you're going to need probably a little bit of pitching help. I know Weaver's coming back.
So what if Stanton can't run? We saw him put together a prolific.
Yeah, just be healthy in
postseason.
Be healthy in October. That's all
there.
that matters with them. But for the other 162 games, they're going to need somebody to fill the gaps in that lineup and somebody who's good in the infield.
What's the farm look like?
It's always pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah, but nobody that's
No
ready to
one's
say-
coming up, knocking on the door.
I mean, you're gonna have
like-
Dominguez take over.
The Yankees prospect hug. They hold on to these guys hoping that they will be somebody they don't have to pay that much.
It was the Volpe Dominguez train that everybody was on for a number of years. They never gave him up, and now Volpe and Dominguez are about to be slated in. If Dominguez can improve defensively, then maybe that's their play.
It stinks for the Yankees because I don't think the AL will ever be as bad as it was last year in terms of striking while the iron's hot. And you know what? They made it to the World Series. They didn't take advantage of that. How long will it be that week? I can't tell you.
Well, you talk about the AL. Who's going to improve? Detroit is going to improve, and they're going to spend money.
You think they are?
Watch Detroit be a sleeper for Corbin Burns. Watch them go get him. Kansas City going to be a buyer. That's going to be another pretty good team. Well, the Red Sox got a great farm system coming up. That's going to be another dangerous team.
The Central is going to be dangerous again. I think to Collins.
Again? What do you mean again? They weren't dangerous this year.
Detroit beat Houston. The Guardians played pretty well against your Yankees. I understand
Houston's
things didn't go our
fumes.
way. Seacat, the games were close between the Guards and the Yanks. I know I sounded like an idiot nonetheless, but they were great baseball games. Dude, the highlight of the postseason was the Guardians and the Yankees. Don't get it twisted. That was the best series.
I know. They
Wasn't
lost
even
in
close.
They also lost in 5 games.
I also
still,
think there's a little
you hear it,
home
you get
run
what I'm
hit
saying.
by Freddie Freeman in Game 1 of the World Series that might be considered the highlight.
Honestly, unpopular opinion, that World Series was so bad. Stunk.
2 of the 4 games.
That World Series
2 of the 5,
stunk.
2 of the 5 were good.
You're going to sit here and tell me the Guardians went 5. Well, that series went 5.
Game 4 was pretty fun too. Game 4 was pretty fun with the Yankees just scoring all those runs. That was pretty fun. The other ones were not.
I mean, we finally, I thought we were going to get this instant fall classic 7 games, 2 heavyweights going at it.
You're going to get it this year or next year. How about that?
All right. But
AL, though, to our point, the AL's good. You're right, going to be very much improved, and there's a lot of teams that have good farm systems coming up.
Can I sell you guys? What about the Rangers? We've seen them spend money in years past. They got players. I just feel like they got injured.
They're
this
aging,
year.
and that pitching staff, they're depleted. I think most of that pitching staff is going into free agency. So
Semien, Seager, but to your point, pitching's a question
pitching's
mark.
a major question for them. And so they got a lot of problems. I mean, maybe
Houston's
always going to be Houston, but I don't know if Bregman's going to go back. I don't think they're going to.
The way he exited,
he's probably done.
gone.
Yeah, he's probably done. He's probably
buy-
going to sign to a big contract somewhere and bury the rest of his career.
And then finally, I'm sorry, on Houston, you buy their pitching staff. We've seen pitching be the kind of go-to for them in these World Series runs.
I think handled properly, I think Seattle could have a chance to make a big-time offseason because they have the best staff in the MLB in terms of arms that rotate as deep as anybody. And all they need is bats. All they need are bats.
I snickered there because if Julio Rodriguez lays off the outside slider, I think he'd up his batting average by about 20 points and cut the strikeouts by about 80.
You should be a hitting coach, but maybe they go get Christian Walker.
I mean, you watch him play, he can't lay off the outside slider. It's a joke.
Yes, Mike. Julio's not in the room with us, but I understand.
Brought him up. I'm just saying. You said they needed bats.
They need bats. Number 5.
Number 5.
College basketball got in full swing last night. Big slate of games. Number 6 versus number 8 was a blowout. Gonzaga, Baylor. Which teams do we need to look out for? And remember this when we're talking basketball in March.
If we're making calls in terms of a team that could come out of Gonzaga is going to be good. I don't know how good, but they're going to be good. UConn, of course, is going to be back in the mix. That Big East is going to be weak, though. So is that Big Ten. It's going to be the SEC. Is Arkansas going to be any good? Coach Cal bringing in about 100 new players usually doesn't work. But you know who I think is going to be underrated? Is Kentucky with Mark Pope.
Yeah.
I think Kentucky's going to be underrated. I think in the ACC side of things, North Carolina, of course, will be solid. But I think it's going to be the UConn, Kansas. There's a lot of very good teams. UConn, Kansas, UNC, Duke, the Gonzagas of the world. It's going to be a lot of blue bloods very much in the mix.
To reiterate what Colin said, I mean, Kansas and North Carolina come to thought. I mean, how the hell is Hunter Dickinson still in college, guys?
Yeah, at a certain point, this is going to have to all come together for Kansas. It's going to have to come together at a certain point. Alabama, we didn't bring up them.
They got Cliff Amori in the transfer portal from Rutgers. He looked pretty good last night. But Kansas and North Carolina, those are my two teams because, I mean, UNC, talk about another guy who's been, RJ Davis. All right, I had I had to clear out the windshield last night to realize that guy was still the point guard of that team. Believe it or not, he's back. They're going to be really good. I'm kind of sold, and remember I said this, Colin, and I swear this isn't me being a homer. Got for Diebler and the Buckeyes, dude. They played a good Texas team pretty hard last night. They shot lights out. He did great in the transfer portal, got some 5-star recruits in there. And then on the flip side, Michigan, too. With Dusty, he got a ton of players in the transfer portal. Got Rodney Gale over from the Buckeyes. How about that? A guy going from Ohio State to Michigan in a transfer portal. Is that foul or what? But Gale could play. So if I had to put two teams in the Big Ten, it'd probably be Ohio State and Michigan. And then another one, Illinois. Will Riley last night, 31 points. He tied the freshman record for the Illini last night. Illini are going to be very solid, too. There will be some sleeper teams in the Big Ten. It won't be the Zach Edey Purdue, but they're going to have some solid tournament teams.
I don't know how you didn't bring up Rutgers there. Rutgers has 2 top 5 picks in the draft.
They got Somerville. They got the Somerville kid,
Well,
too.
they got Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper. And Peichel's a good coach.
They had an unreal recruiting class this year, too. So,
well, that's what it is. It's Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey. They're going to be 2 top 5 picks.
They had an unreal recruiting class, and Marcus Somerville's son, Lathan Somerville, is playing there as well. So
that's going to be an underrated team.
That's young. They're just young. How about that? They're a little young, and I'm nonetheless looking at some veteran teams.
Keep doubting. It'll take him a couple months to figure it out, UConn. Keep doubting. Keep doubting. Nobody runs better stuff. Nobody has.
Oh, dude, I mean,
they got 3 head coaches on that roster. That team's going to be dangerous.
My buddy, he meant to ask you. I was supposed to ask you on the air today. Is it UConn versus everyone else again?
No, because there's better teams in the field this year. Alabama's returning so much talent. So
it's not UConn running away with the tournament?
No, because from what I've heard from the rumblings is that Hurley has never worked a team harder in his life than this offseason. Hurley has never been more frustrated that nobody wants to take the star role. And he's got 9 guys fighting for 5 spots in the starting lineup, and he still doesn't know who the starters are.
Who do they got tonight? They have some
They
little...
They play tomorrow.
Tomorrow. They have a little...
Sacred Heart. Yeah. So they got a decent little thing coming up, but they're not going to be challenged. They got Gonzaga in early December. That's the key to the
C-Cat, I lied. One more thing. I've been doing that a lot today. What about the Wisconsin Badgers, see, who are tied with Holy Cross at halftime?
That was the 5-5. Russo and Rizzo will get to break. We'll come back after this.
Live from the Anajar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios. Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. This is ESPN 1063.
PNC Bank is committed to helping the customers and the communities they serve move forward financially. To do this, they're implementing their Community Benefits Plan that focuses on affordable home lending, small business loans, and employee volunteerism, and creating other opportunities to give back on a local level. They're proud to be a part of the South Florida community. See how PNC Bank can make a difference for you at pnc.com/our commitments. PNC Bank, National Association, member FDIC.
I'm Ellie Anajar of Anajar and Levine. Injured in a car crash? Never rush to settle with insurance companies and never settle for just any attorney. Demand Anajar and Levine. Our experienced legal team will fight to win you the maximum compensation you deserve. Call me, Ellie Anajar, for a free consultation and take back control of your life. Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733.
In office, West Palm Beach.
What keeps us going during storm season? It's not the what, it's the who. It's the helpful neighbors, the extra milers, and the early risers. And when a storm hits, Florida needs a power company that's ready. At FPL, we're working every single day to build a stronger grid so you get the reliable electricity you need in good weather and bad. FPL, working for you every single day. Get ready at fpl.com/storm.
Hi, it's Luis Fonsi. In the world of music, versatility allows you to capture the moment and create something amazing. Ford SUVs are designed with the same versatility in mind. The Ford Escape or Explorer can make any day a beach day with room for family and all your gear. And the Ford Bronco or Bronco Sport give you the freedom to go over, around, or through almost anything that comes your way. Ford SUVs, perfect for South Florida. See your local Ford dealer today.
Want to accelerate your career as a manager or executive in the exciting industry of sports? Florida Atlantic University's MBA in Sport Management program is ranked #1 in Florida and 10th in the world. Students learn practical and applied skills from top faculty and experts who work in the industry. With a 94% placement rate for all grads, the full-time MBA program sets students up for success in the world of sports. Check out Florida Atlantic University's MBA in Sport Management program today by going to business.fau.edu.
Hey, this is the Fat Jack, and football season is here. Are you ready to make some money? Have you bet on sports before? That probably did not go great. I can help you make money. Go to fatjacksports.com and get dialed in to turn a profit. The picks are emailed to you. They're on your personal portal on the website, and you can pay less than $50 a week for longer packages to make money betting this football season. fatjacksports.com, the only place you need to go. 100% transparent, and will turn you profit this season at fatjacksports.com.
I'm Darnella Felix, and when I crave buds, I crave the chicken finger dinner, and I love the mac and cheese.
When that craving hits, it's time to come into Bud's to try our classic hand-breaded chicken, made fresh to order.
Take one.
Come on down to Bud's Chicken and Seafood for a Binger Ficky.
You said Binger Ficky.
Why would I say Binger Ficky?
I don't know, because it's Bud's Finger Quickie served with fries.
Sounds good.
Taste Buds. Taste the difference.
Let's get back to the Anajar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios. This is Russo and Rizzo on ESPN 1063.
Rolling on here on Russo and Rizzo, ESPN 1063. Colin Russo, Mike Rizzo, Christian Cat behind the glass. Election day, NFL trade deadline, college football playoff rankings. Joel Embiid suspended by the NBA. 3 games for pushing Porter. Now, my question is, before we get into about the actual suspension itself, is how do you enforce this? Do you match it up in games that he is supposed to be available? He is technically hurt. He doesn't play back-to-backs. Does that even matter to him?
Is that legal that he doesn't play back-to-backs?
I think that's part of the pro, but technically they can't do anything about it. They can just throw a hamstring on the report.
I'm kidding. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I guess it's when he's back and fully healthy. He has to miss 3 full games. We both agreed. We saw the article at hand that Joel got mad about. We thought it was a little bit out there. We thought it was a little bit out of line.
Completely out of line. There's no doubt in my mind. I have no problem with Joel Embiid pressing a reporter. I mean, he didn't kill the guy. He shoved him. But I understand Joel Embiid is a behemoth of a human being. But from what I see from afar, and I'm not involved in the Philadelphia beat writer room, but this guy was completely out of line in how he referenced Joel Embiid's deceased son and I think brother. You cannot do that. And then he did that and segued it into how Joel Embiid is not essentially making them proud by not playing and sitting out games. You could have a problem with Joel Embiid sitting out games, and you could have a problem with Joel Embiid not being available in the regular season, but you cannot bring up family in that regard. That, too far. Joel Embiid had every right to call him out and make a big deal out of it. I don't love Embiid and his antics usually. For this situation specifically, I have absolutely no problem, and I think the NBA, they probably had to do it, and I don't think Embiid really cares that he was suspended 3 games. But
yeah, he's been at wit's end with everybody as of late, it seems, Carl.
Yeah. The reporter, you cannot do that. That is completely out of line.
Agreed. You can't go after family members like that. And I think it's more or less like, and he should be unbiased. You know what I mean? Like, as a reporter like that, it sounds like he let the emotions get, the best way I could put this, it sounds like he let his emotions get the best of him with a 1-5 basketball team. Like, hey, this is Embiid's fault that they're 1-5. Granted, it has a lot to do with Joel not playing. Paul George is just recently healthy as well. But it sounded like the reporter had emotions involved in this. You're supposed to be objective, especially with a columnist. Like, Colin, I don't mean to, I'm going to say it for what it is. A columnist is like a dying breed of multi-journalism in sports anyway. But the biggest thing is to like be unbiased in it. That sounded because I read the article, it sounded like it had a lot of bias into it.
Well,
like he didn't like him. It sounded like he was personally attacking him, and he didn't like Joel specifically.
I don't know if it was a personal attack, but the way I look at it is you could have a problem with how Joel Embiid handles him being available for games. You could totally, I have a problem with it. You have every right to be upset at Joel Embiid for not being readily available in postseason play, whether it's how he prepares his body or him just never being available, and then basically him crying to the media about how the city's treating him. You could have a problem with that, but you cannot, under any circumstances, bring up family, and you cannot, under any circumstances, bring up family that have passed away.
Right.
Like, this is a no-brainer. This guy should not be allowed back in that Sixer locker room. He should not be allowed back covering that team. That's my perspective on it. I have no problem with how Embiid was upset with that situation. He tried to make a big deal out of it. He's given the guy sort of a name for himself. So hopefully this bites this guy in the rear end, this Marcus Hayes figure. This guy, screw this guy. You can't do stuff like that.
Right.
And I don't like Embiid as much as the next guy. You cannot do that. I have no problem with that. In terms of the NBA suspension, that's another situation.
Like I said, it just sounded like the reporter let his emotions get the best of him and wrote something horrible. So I think it's bad on both sides. It's bad on Embiid for pushing him. Do I blame him? I might have done something worse, Colin, honest to God.
What?
Than pushing him. But if he's going after dead family members like that and whatever,
he's not going after them, but he's making essentially, for those who don't know, he wrote an article about Embiid's availability. And the way he segued it was talking about how Embiid, and I'm going to paraphrase as best I can, how Embiid, whose deceased son, I think is named after his deceased brother. And the child passed away early on in its life. And I think there was a sense that Embiid is dedicating him playing and dedicating the season, dedicating his career to his son. And I think that was the background the reporter gave, and then segued that into, well, in order for you to make your son and brother proud, you have to be on the court, you have to be available to play and not sitting out games. That is essentially the background of what he got here. Christian Cat, do you have this for us?
Yeah. So after Embiid consistently points to the birth of his son, Arthur, as the major inflection point in his basketball career. He often says that he wants to be great to leave a legacy for the boy named after his little brother, who tragically died in an automobile accident after Embiid was in his first year as a Sixer. Next paragraph. Well, in order to be great at your job, you must show up for work first.
Oh, my God.
Embiid has been great at just the opposite. Now in his 11th season, he consistently has been in poor condition. This poor conditioning apparently seems to have delayed his debut this season. Embiid won't play in Wednesday's opener or the next two games.
Personal, Colin. That was a personal attack.
100%. And that is a despicable 2 paragraphs of journalism. He is getting that upset. He is bringing up that type of situation and essentially pointing that blame just because Embiid wasn't available for what? What was their first game of the year? The Magic? Embiid is not available for that, for the Nets, or whoever the hell they played. He's not available for that, and that's the type of segue you bring. Take that guy's license away. Don't let him cover Philly sports. All those Philly owners are connected. I would banish that guy from covering sports in Philadelphia.
Don't worry. Read these other headlines. Jalen Hurts saves Nick Sirianni's bacon in a messy Eagles win over the Jags.
That's fair, though. That's true.
But hey, listen.
That one works.
Listen.
That's fine with me. I have no problem with that. That is a harmless comparison, a harmless analogy.
Yeah, well, unless like Nick Sirianni has a pig brother or something.
Nonetheless, I wanted to point out he's, he ain't getting banned. But the worst part about this is it makes Embiid be the bad guy now. Like, obviously, I agree with you. It deserves a push or whatever the hell the altercation was. But Embiid's made out to be the bad guy because, the
NBA punished him.
Right.
And I don't know, there's rules with this. The athlete is paid so much money. In a lot of ways, they have to take the high road, and they have to be the bigger man in that situation. But screw that. Once family gets involved, I don't think taking the high road, despite being a multi-million-dollar athlete, I don't think that really applies because in a lot of ways, they're the reporters and people like us, essentially,
Right.
can say stuff without repercussion. There's lines and boundaries that you cannot cross, and that being a very strong piece of it. So, and this is coming from people in media that say stuff. We're going to be out of line here and there, but it's a matter of making sure that you use the form that we are lucky enough to have in order to adequately give our thoughts. Yeah, you could be funny. Yeah, you could overreact. Yeah, you could be negative in a sort of sense, but you cannot bring and cross boundaries like that. That is completely out of line.
So he should be suspended as well.
Who? The reporter? Yeah, he should be banished.
So Embiid suspended without pay. So you asked at the start of this, how do they enforce that because of the already ongoing investigation in Joel Embiid into whether or not his injury is legitimate and all that, resting games, load management? The way you do it is the NBA decides which games he's resting, and they don't tell the Sixers until an hour before tip-off.
So that's how that works. Okay, that's interesting.
Wait, no, that's not how it works. No, that's what I'm saying. It should work.
I was like, that's very good. I was surprised that Adam Silver making a good move there.
Take a bow on that one.
Yeah, I see. I'm wondering, like, Embiid's hurt, quote unquote. Does he the next 3 games? Do they wait till he's healthy? I don't really know the logistics with that, but in terms of if you want to make them feel it, I mean, wait till he's off the injury report and then it starts. And maybe that's how it goes. They have to wait till he's off the injury report.
To Seacat's point, Embiid will lose $1 million in pay during the suspension.
I think he would say that is worth it.
That's worth it, and that's pocket change to him. So I'm not for somebody.
Pocket change, Seacat, $1 million. Hey, could you use $1 million, Seacat? $1 million? Should you use it?
If I was an NBA Supermax player, no, I could not use that $1 million. It's worth making a point.
I have a problem with how that report. Marcus Hayes, I believe his name is.
Correct, it is.
For the Philadelphia Inquirer. Screw that guy.
Is he a phony?
I mean, he's worse than that. He's that is a boundary that you do not cross.
Seacat.
And I hated how that's phrased.
I'm serious on this show.
Yeah, I don't know how you type that out and it gets past the editor and all that.
That's
how do
a good
you not
point.
feel weird saying
that's
that?
A good point.
Because like I may make extremely
we're in the heat of the
jokes
moment,
all
yeah,
the time,
yeah.
even like, but that just felt so weird. It's different to have something slip out that was a joke that got taken the wrong way. No, that was typed out. It was revised. It possibly was edited, and they made it through.
He could have left out that entire first paragraph, and it would have been okay.
Yeah,
maybe they're trying. Maybe hang on,
you
guys.
don't need to bring up any of that, and all you got to do is talk about it. How he thinks it's a joke. How he doesn't show up for work. That is a fine argument.
I could argue this is exactly what those people wanted over at the Philadelphia Beacon. Who the hell does he work for? But I could argue this is exactly what they wanted. They're in the news. People are talking about it. They're looking him up. And I mean,
there's levels to it. All press is good press. There's levels to it. Maybe this is teetering on the line of negative, but I understand the point.
Yeah. I mean, maybe they got already what they wanted out of it. I don't agree with it, but
boy, that's as bad as it gets. What's that?
And we're a week removed, Trayvon Diggs from the Cowboys confronted a reporter because the reporter said something bad about his play. It's like,
that's different.
Exactly. That's the thing where athletes and reporters have always had that rocky relationship. And sometimes reporters are so smug and they think that they own the place. And they think they are owed this respect that can only be given to the media. And sometimes the players want to fight back wrongfully. And sometimes they do it rightfully. And Embiid did it rightfully.
Yeah, from one perspective, once you make the amount of money you make and you sign that contract, part of that contract is you are subject to criticism and you are subject to public criticism. It does not include that you and your family are subject to said criticism. I know there's levels to this, but there's boundaries and unwritten rules that should not be crossed. That was one of them. So that is our take on what happened with Joel Embiid. He is suspended 3 games without pay. Will lose $1 million whenever that starts, whenever that's going to end. The Sixers are 1-5. One of the worst teams in the NBA. What an underpick on my part. We close
we're doing the
how
victory
about
lap
this?
now?
Hang on.
Yeah.
Collins over the Mike Rizzo's Cleveland Cavaliers.
47.5. They're 8-0. How about that? That's another good pick.
Sounds like someone knows what they're doing over there, Seacat.
Mike, I'll be honest with you. The way you just said the word Cleveland Cavaliers might have made sense in a different region. It didn't make sense here. No one knew what the hell you just said.
It's what our, to his point, it's what our on-court guy does before the games.
Right, everybody who,
now it clicked.
What is that? What is that? It's not Quicken Loans anymore. What is it called?
Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse.
Wow.
Nice. Check was fat for that one.
I mean, it's Uncle Dan. Dan Gilbert still owns the team.
That's right.
We close out the program next. Stick around. Russo and Rizzo, ESPN 1063.
Live from the Anajar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios. Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. This is ESPN 1063.
Have you been injured in a bicycle accident? The injuries can be devastating. Rubenstein Law has been representing accident victims for over 35 years. We're proud to have a fully English and Spanish-speaking firm with 20 offices in Florida, New York, New Jersey, and Massachusetts. We've recovered billions for our clients. If you or a loved one has been injured in a bicycle accident, call us now. Rubenstein Law, 1-800-FL-LEGAL. Office in West Palm Beach. We're open on weekends, too.
Bet live with Hard Rock Bet. Real-time wagering till the very last play. Missing the kickoff doesn't mean all bets are off.
Delay a game on the guy who hasn't bet yet.
Sometimes you just know your team is going to come back. The sportsbook for every kind of player.
Hard Rock Bet. Roll with us.
Get up to $100 back if your first bet doesn't win. Payable and bonus bet up to $100, not a cash offer. Offered by the Seminole Tribe of Florida. Must be 21 plus and physically present in Florida to wager. Terms and conditions apply. Concerned about gambling? Please call 1-888-ADMIT-IT.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hi, I'm Dr. Peter Stahl, board-certified urologist and senior vice president of men's sexual health at HIMSS. In my 12 years of practice as a reproductive urologist, I've helped many guys with ED, and it has never been more convenient to treat than it is right now, thanks to HIMSS. It really wasn't easy before. You had to take time out of your day, come to a physical office, and see a specialist like me in person. Now, through HIMSS.com, you can get world-class sexual health care and a full range of treatment options for ED through a 100% online process. It starts with a free assessment from a medical provider licensed in your state who can determine if ED treatment is right for you. If prescribed, your medication is shipped to you for free. So don't wait. Join the hundreds of thousands of guys who've gotten help for their ED through HIMSS.
To start your free online visit and find ED treatment at up to 95% off brand name prices, go to hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit.
Let's get back to the Anajar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios. This is Russo and Rizzo on ESPN 1063.
Closing out the program here on ESPN 1063. Colin Russo, Mike Rizzo, Christian Cat. It's Russo and Rizzo. Election day today. You know what the problem with Election day is? You don't nowadays, you don't know who won on Election day.
Yeah, I got a problem.
Was 2020 going to be an aberration, though? Maybe we get back to the roots. I don't know.
No, it's already
Wouldn't we hear by it, like, tonight at some point? Wouldn't you have a sense? I don't know.
It's already, no, it's already, I think it's already been said that a couple of states won't be ready with, the ballots. They won't be done counting them. Famously, who was it last year? Wisconsin, they went home instead of finishing counting the ballots.
Relatable.
So,
how does that happen?
It really is.
How does that happen?
I don't, Colin. It's, I'll say this. I'll defend.
You don't have to.
Yeah, you're actually right. Probably should just skip out on that. I think it was the first year with all the mail-in ballots. Last year was like the real first year where you had a ton of mail-in ballots because of COVID. You know what I'm saying? And now no one wants to leave the house anymore, and I could, don't really blame anybody for not wanting to leave home anymore. But, yeah.
But I believe it's for I don't know the logistics of it all. But don't they, if the mail-in ballot does not get in by today, isn't it finito? That doesn't count?
Yeah. You're preaching to the choir in terms of people who don't know what goes on with elections. So I don't know, man. Maybe Google's your best friend. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe I will Google that.
CCAT goes Riz. You don't have to.
NFL trade deadline at 4 p.m. College Football Playoff Committee will announce their official college football playoff rankings, the first of the year, a 12-team playoff slate. That will be also tonight. College basketball started yesterday. I got a packed slate. They didn't basically start until 6 p.m., which they should have done a whole day. In the old days, they used to do the madness where they would start games all day. It'd be a whole first day to kick off the college football season.
24 to Colin's point, like 24 hours of hoops.
They should have started all the games. Like, think about the first Thursday of the NCAA tournament. They should have started games at 12 o'clock and had games all throughout the day.
That would work, yeah.
Well, the problem was we had the marquee matchup of Gonzaga and Baylor, but the problem was
it's 11:30 p.m.
What did Gonzaga win by 50?
Well, they won by 50, and it was at 3 in the morning.
Yeah, I actually fell asleep on the couch during Monday Night Football, and I woke up. I thought it was a fever dream. I'm not into college basketball like you guys were. I woke up, and all of a sudden I see Gonzaga, and I thought I was going crazy for a second.
The game of the night was the Buckeyes beating Texas, man. I'm telling you. Deboer's going to have those kids playing well this year.
Northern Arizona won.
Yeah,
Big
they
Sky
did.
Against Park U. Gilbert, an NAIA school. They won 100-49. My brother is the second assistant on Northern Arizona.
Tim Russo, baby.
So that would be
it's a heartbeat away from first assistant.
I guess you could say that.
Presidency, yeah.
We got to ask you. I'm going to ask you, bro. I think I'm going to DM your brother for some tips about being a basketball coach here.
He can tell you. And he was a Hurley disciple, so he gets it. And but they won, so they're 1-0. They might be a little underrated this year in the Big Sky. And they had a terrible year last year. They were so bad last year that nobody plucked any of their players. So that's almost because Big Sky, think about that, low, mid-major, they just get plucked by the big schools. Anybody who's good at basketball, see ya.
Yeah, it's almost like the goal of the guys in the roster. Like, please pluck me.
It's like there's JUCO, then that, and then that. Yeah, and then Big Sky. So, but they were so bad last year, but they returned everybody. I think their preseason Big Sky Player of the Year, Trent McLaughlin's still on the team. And because of that, they're in an advantageous position because they return a lot of guys for a team that stunk last year, but all of a sudden they might be pretty good now because they return everybody.
Colin, you went to Wisconsin, right?
Yes.
Did you go to a bunch of basketball games when there?
All the time.
I think it's almost a more exciting fandom than college football when you're on campus.
You're also there.
You're closer to the action.
Yeah. I love being close to the action. College football is more of an event. College basketball feels like you're going to a game, if that makes sense.
A school night, you get out of class
Tuesday
and
night,
you
you're
walk
going
to it.
you're going to a game. College football is everything around it, everything before it, everything after it, location, the vibe, whether there's a game day thing there. It's all about the day. College basketball is just 2 hours from tip to finish.
Now, I did a lot with student media, so I would go to these games, a media member and stuff like that. I didn't really necessarily get to enjoy the student aspect of it because I was working them, but I liked doing that because it gave me the experience of for instance, doing that stuff at Ohio State and OU when I graduated, being in a locker room setting wasn't anything crazy to me. Being in a press conference setting, it was something you were used to. You know what I mean? Getting the actual experience. I learned more covering games, being on the air, on the student radio, TV, and radio station side of it than any classroom. So,
yeah, I got better at heckling, being a college basketball student section
Were
guy.
none of you guys in the...
Mo Wagner, cooked him.
What I did is I didn't like calling the games usually, but so I would call a couple games throughout the Wisconsin basketball season. I'd keep my badge, and they're only game by game, and I would use my badge and go to every game, and I'd sit wherever I wanted. And whether there was an open seat, and that's how I'd hang out on court before the game. I'd go get some food in the media room. I completely rinsed them.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, that was my next question. Were you guys in student media, or when?
Yeah,
when
a little.
you were in school?
WSUM does a good job over at Wisconsin, but I did it when I got a chance. I had a job. I worked for ESPN Madison, so I had a job.
Right. He was a different case.
Yeah, sports talk radio, student media, so a lot less buttoned up.
What was it called? Do you mind me asking what the Penn State one? What was your thing called?
So we were kind of like the badass secondary station. You had comm radio was the uptight losers that got the really good jobs out of college. We were the renegade,
Absolutely.
The Lion. 90.7
You want to know what
FM.
You want to know what I would call that? The wild cards. I'm a wild card. And guess what? I flipped into an ace, baby.
There was two.
Yeah, one was an actual radio station that had a very small sports section, and the rest was music. And I was on the sports side of that station, and the major one was comm radio. Yeah.
And the major one, was that all students?
Yes, all students.
So why didn't you go for the major one?
Because I went to a couple meetings. I didn't like the gym. I didn't like the
people.
No, not at all.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And those people, are any of them hosting SportsCenter?
Not yet. They're exceptionally successful, though. They got much better jobs out of college than me. But I'm catching up slowly but surely.
Really?
Hot on their tail.
Interesting. I'm fascinated by that. Okay, that's fast. Okay, wow. So that was you had a little bit of a beef. We didn't have to.
Oh, a one-sided beef.
No,
we used to cook them on Catman at midnight on Sundays.
Lantern at Ohio State. Everyone was great there. Shout out to the Lantern. And then Athens Post. I did radio for Athens Post, and then WOUB was our TV station. So, like I said, man, the relationships I made there, friendships, and the work experience, amazing. The college kids always ask, how do I get into this? Just get involved. The more you have to send to somebody, the better. So
I also think that was also cool with going to hoop games. But when Wisconsin, when I was a student, had a bunch of awesome games that I was at because they had they beat Purdue when everybody was there, and Purdue was the number 3 team in the country.
Did you storm the court?
No, I
Sorry.
was.
I can't believe that's the first
I was
thing
hanging
I thought
out. I was hanging out on the court during the game, I think. So I was just already there. But and all the Barstool guys were there. It was a whole thing. And then the game that Juwan Howard got punched. I was at that game.
No way!
Wait, he did the punching, didn't he?
No, he took the punch. He punched Krabencroft, who's an assistant coach at Wisconsin. I was at that game. I was at that press conference.
Well, he grabbed Greg Gard by the throat.
It was Krabencroft. It was their assistant coach. And he moved Gard away, but the one
he grabbed. I thought he grabbed Greg Gard.
He didn't choke him out. No, he did not. He grabbed him on the shoulder, but I was there. That was a cool one. And I was at that post game, and all the Wisconsin players were in the press conference with everybody else when Howard was in there and when Gard was in there, and then the AD McIntosh went in there. That was a fun one. But in terms of going to games, I'll go to 100 college basketball games before I go to one college football game. That is my takeaway.
I'd rather watch college football on television. I always even said that when we would be covering the games. I'd look at the boys, I go, or whoever I was working with, I go, Mingy, we're missing the whole damn Saturday.
That's a good point.
Football is not great in person. Stadiums, I think, are too big. You need a great seat in order to really enjoy it. It's all about the rah-rah surrounding it. You miss the other games.
Can I be bougie for a second? The club, if you get club seats, and like that's the best seat in the house. You could see both end to ends, free food. If you're into the booze, free booze. Club level is amazing at a game. Honest to God.
Yeah, I never had good seats at a football game. I had student section. It was free for all. Or if you camped out at Penn State, you got the front row.
Were you a camp out?
Oh yeah, Nittanyville.
I was not a camp out.
Yeah,
I didn't believe in that. I was not a camp out.
Nittanyville.
That was
you
not.
missed out.
That I know it's probably fun one time.
CCAT.
But camping out for something like that, I just don't think it's fun.
Colin. Nittanyville?
Yeah, camping out for their game versus Akron. That's where the real men were made.
It's not like Penn State was great either.
No, they were.
Were
good.
you good?
I got there 2016, the first year where they went to the Big Ten championship game.
Was that with Shrewsbury?
They beat Ohio State that year.
Oh, I'm talking about football.
CCAT. That was the last time you guys.
You're talking about
that was
hoops.
a fun year for you guys.
Out for Penn State hoops.
You guys beat Ohio State, but you didn't get into the playoff.
Yeah.
We got waxed by Clemson.
I thought you were camping out for Penn State hoop games. I was
confused. Standing outside in the cold for those games. The front row there too.
Wow.
That a boy.
I don't believe it. I love going to a college hoop game, but I don't know about that.
Nittany Lions.
Russo and Rizzo on ESPN 106.3. It's Election Day. Make sure you go get your vote in. We'll be back at it tomorrow, 4 to 6, normal time. Stick around then. It's Colin Russo, Mike Rizzo, Christian Katz, sending you off into your Tuesday. We'll see you tomorrow.
Improve your golf game fast at the all-new Kaiser University Golf Coaching Center. The Kaiser University Golf Coaching Center has the facilities, tools, and coaching you need. Enjoy the best facilities in the area with an expansive chipping and putting area, practice bunkers, a huge putting green,